Thank you for joining the podcast today. We're continuing our conversation about understanding how your thoughts work. And today we're really going to be diving into some practical application so that you can open up the unlimited possibilities in your life. But I just want you to understand that this process, it can come when things are really hard in life, and it's not something that you can always do alone. And so if you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, help is available. You can call or text 988 or chat 988lifeline.org. Welcome back to the It's Your Story to Tell podcast. I'm your host, Megan Babcock. I'm also the founder of It's Your Story to Tell and the Coach Collective. And today we're picking up where we left off with Teresa Walding. So if you have not listened to the first episode, pause here, go back to the last episode so you have the context of the three principles. And today we're going to be talking about how you can implement these into your life and how it is very closely connected to your self-care. So let's let Teresa walk us through this so that we can all go and experience transformation in our life.
Oh, Megan, thank you so much. You know, it's just a wonderful journey to watch people wake up to really realizing I do have control of my life. I can think clearly, and and you're right, we don't have to do this alone. There are so many people out here who are so willing to share their knowledge and their wisdom and to give us that little boost that we need. And that's the reason that I created I call it the Inside Out Built-In Self-Care Plan. It's a universal care plan based on the principles, mind, consciousness, and thought, knowing that those are neutral powers that we all have that guide us through life. And when we can really stop and say, I know that I'm a thinking human being and I can solve problems, but I don't have to do it alone. This care plan is what helps you.
Amazing.
So it's the part of us that knows the truth. When we hear truth, we all hear it the same. So when you were talking about that part within us of listening to our intuition and wisdom, and it sounds exactly like what I'm doing as well, it's because there's a truth to it. And when we hear it, we know. So it goes like this. You have a topic, and it doesn't matter what it is. Let's say it's communication is our topic, because so much gets lost in communication, right? And most of us don't realize that all the power is in the listener, not the speaker. It's what lands on someone else's ears is what moves that conversation forward or not. And so if we have a topic of, say, poor communication between colleagues, let's say a boss and someone they're in charge of, and we think they're saying one thing to us, and then the communication goes sideways, and I don't know why they said that to me. What's going on here? So you have this, all of a sudden you have this little miscommunication, and we start getting up in our head about it. So you can ask yourself, hold on, where do I think my experience about this communication is coming from right now? And when you can identify that it's all of your overthinking about it, you can have that moment to pause and say, oh, I know that I'm probably missing something here. Let me tune in and listen a little differently. And you have the ability to go, can you clarify? Instead of react, because how many times do we react to somebody like, I can't.
It's happened a lot, especially before I started doing this work, because I was a people pleaser, achiever, perfectionist. And I remember a scenario just like you were talking about where I was in a management development program. And as part of that, I had mentorship. And one of my mentors was a couple levels higher than me. And I remember this call where he was having a conversation and I was so defensive. And he said to me, Megan, I'm just trying to figure out if it's will or skill. And I was like, what? And I went away from that conversation and I decided to think differently. I had been very defensive, but I was like, I need to understand, what did he mean by will or skill? And it was so profound for me when I went away and I realized I was showing up from my past where I was trying, I was always trying to get approval because approval equaled love and acceptance. And I was like, wow, if will is not something that he can help me on, skill he can. And he was just trying to determine, like, can I even help you overcome this? And when I was able to realize why I was showing up in that way, and that's not what I wanted, because I wanted the skills, I wanted to advance, and I actually wanted the help. But there was something that was preventing me up here in my head.
Yeah.
And when I could realize it, then I was like, oh, wow, I was just misreading everything that he was saying. And I wasn't giving him the benefit of that he's coming into this to help me to achieve what I desire. It was, so now I ask myself that question all the time. Megan, is this will or is it skill?
I love that. That's hilarious. And it could be any question that brings it back for you, right?
Right.
And what a wonderful thing for him to say to you. He was like, because you could probably hear, I'm just trying to help you, but you're not giving me the opportunity.
Right.
So when you understand that that's what's happening, now you have better ears to hear when someone is trying to help you. And on the other side, if the tables are turned and you're listening to someone else and you're trying to figure out someone else, your ability to help them, you can drop out of your own thinking and say, what's really going on here for this person? Because I really do want to help them.
Right.
And you ask a different question from that space. Like that question that he asked you, is it will or skill? I'm not sure that it would have occurred to him outside of your conversation.
Right.
So those powerful questions, those coaching questions, they come up in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't come from you. They come from the higher good for that other person.
Yeah,
and
that's so good.
That's one of those places where we can then ask, in our awareness of this ability to recognize our own thinking, to maybe even settle down and listen better. How does knowing that help you in every circumstance? And that's the care plan. Whatever the topic is, knowing where your experience is coming from is always 100% of the time from you. Your way that you look at life, the way you showed up that day, who you're being in the moment, your state of mind, that's all you. And then you either respond or react based on that level of conscious state. And as you go through life and you notice, like, I'm not really progressing, I'm not really doing what I want to do, there's these places in my life that I want to change and I don't know what to do. Number one, get a coach. That's number one.
Yes.
Because other people can help you point out your blind spots. We can't see our own blind spots that easily. But once you're aware that you have them, you now have that ability to ask yourself those internal questions. Where is my experience coming from? Where do I think it's coming from? Because if it's coming from anywhere except your own thinking, you're thinking your circumstances dictating the way that you feel. And then you start.
That's a good point. Because how often, as I think back to my past, the voice I was hearing was not my own voice. It was the voice of a past relationship, family. You brought up, it was my religious upbringing. And one of the exercises that I had from a coach, and a coach is what really helped me begin shifting my life. Like I said, I had been in counseling, but it was just a different approach that I feel even now, like in coaching, you're looking to the person that you're working with to be their own expert. And in the counseling relationship, and this was probably me, it would probably be very different if I went into the counseling situation now because of my changes. But I looked at that person as the expert, and they knew all the theories, and they were going to tell me what was wrong with me and how to fix it. And so I wasn't being guided to self. But when I had this coach who helped me start finding myself, like my values, what is it that I want to believe? And I started working through that. I realized how many times the things that I thought weren't even from me.
Yeah. Yeah. And they weren't true. You know, that's one of those places where we don't always recognize our own false beliefs, and we live as if they're true. You know, one way that I like to describe it is when I was a little girl, we were driving at night, and the car lights were coming at my dad, and he would go, "Oh, those lights are blinding me." Well, I'm 5 or 6, and I'm like, "Oh, you can't look at headlights because they'll blind you." I lived in the belief that I would go blind if I looked at headlights, so I never did until I was 14 when I learned how to drive, and I had to drive at night, not because I was legal, but but it got late and I had to drive home. And I realized you're not going to go blind. You just can't see because it's so bright. But that insight changed my life.
Right.
And you can apply that to all the different circumstances you can imagine in your life where you just didn't know. And so it's really truly a misunderstanding that we all have. Every single one of us has false beliefs on some level. But as soon as we have insight into that, and we're like, oh, that's how it works, you don't ever lose it. It helps you for the rest of your life. You don't have to relearn it. You get to have it as your gift to live the life that you envision. And you can apply this care plan to anything you can imagine. Because when you hear truth, you know it. It comes with a feeling in your body, and you can test it every time. I say test it. Look in your life and see if there's any place in your life that is not created by your thoughts about it. I want to hear it.
That's a good challenge. That'll produce some great fruit in people's life if they just try to test it out. Even if you're skeptical, because and actually skeptical was the word I was looking for, earlier when we were talking, but when we live in a world that has created a lot of skepticism where you've had pain and hurt and you've been let down, and so you are guarded. And so you don't have to believe us, what we're saying. Right. We're just saying, try it and try to prove us wrong. And let's see what benefit that, because you'll know for yourself. And that's what is so amazing about helping people to learn this, because when they can learn it and they learn to start asking powerful questions, they become their own coach. And that has been my mission, is to help people to not need me, because I'm just there to equip you with the tools. I don't want to see you forever and ever, because that means I'm not servicing you. I'm not helping you. What I want is for you to be able to grasp this, try it out, build the habit around it, and then you can be the best coach for yourself for the rest of your life to create the life that you dream of.
You got it. Empowering people to live from this perspective puts you back in touch with your life. We don't want to go have someone show us all the time, every time, have to check in. No, I want to know, and I want to go. I want to enjoy my family. I want to enjoy picnics. I want to go out and do the things that I dream of doing. I want to go to work and enjoy it.
I think this is like the key of fixing burnout. Because I'm thinking, like, when I was a nurse, I got so frustrated with the healthcare system, and I'm not getting the patients aren't getting better. Well, I wasn't equipping them to get better.
Yeah.
I wasn't empowering them.
Right.
They were looking to me to tell them what to do. Then they wouldn't do it, and they'd come back into the hospital. Then we're all frustrated, and it was exhausting. Yeah. And as I live from this perspective, even when life throws curveballs, it is not the same overwhelm, anxiety. I don't have burnout because I know how to control my thoughts and protect myself from them and decide if they're true and are they going to create the story I want. So this is why I was just, when we first connected, I was just like, wow, this is like meeting somebody who thinks very similarly. And I think that it's just such a powerful gift to share with the world because it allows them to control their lives. And so tell me a little bit more about the importance of self-care and how you relate that to this practice.
It's where self-care comes from. Like, if all of these decisions that we make in our life, and I'm still on my journey, to be really honest,
all of us
coming through COVID and burnout. And I realized in the last 6 months, I want more out of life. So I've been engaging more in the community, reaching out to all the nurse coaches out there. And I want nurses to be in our communities, showing people what healing and health and well-being look like. Our society is crying for it. Yeah. Our healthcare system is trying to meet the needs, and nurses are a very underutilized commodity, if you will, because we have knowledge that is uncommon to regular everyday people. How many times do people call you, well, you're a nurse, what do you think, right? So we are the solution to what's happening in our society. And we want to keep nurses nursing at the bedside because the health of the nurse is one of the most important aspects of healing our healthcare system. And nurse coaching is a perfect vehicle for that, as well as empowering our communities right where we live, coming back out of our homes and really saying, what can I do to serve? And seeing where we can fill in some of these gaps and really partner with our communities to create this environment that we all live in. So a lot of people are doing that. And I'm doing that in my community. I just recently started going to the Chamber of Commerce and listening to the problems. And I'm like, I know the answer. Empowering people from this perspective will give us new answers that we've been looking for. And
I love that.
I just totally believe that the healthcare systems that embrace this perspective of health and healing will be the most profitable.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. It's so interesting that you say community, because one of the things that I'm doing with another, she's not a nurse, but we have created and are working on rolling out something called Crisis Intervention Coalition. And it's where we go into communities, we teach them these things that we're talking about. Wonderful. So that they can create the solution for the problem in their community, because the approach is not a one size fits all. We've been trying to figure that out in medicine and for a while, but it really is about empowering people to find the solution that's going to work for them, because that's when they're going to stick with it and they're going to feel like they're part of that. They're not just being told to do something. And so I love what you said about that. That's something that I'm recognizing is needed. And if we all don't contribute and come together to come up with better solutions that are the right fit for the scenario, we're in a really bad place. But we don't have to stay there. Like I said in the beginning, like this, most of the time, these transformations occur from dark, desperate places, but they can be transformed quickly.
Yes.
Using this process. So Teresa, it has been such an honor. I'm going to let you close us out. Is there anything to share, some last minute thoughts, and then remind people where to find you? But I've just thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, and I hope that it has caused some people to really start evaluating just how powerful their thoughts are and how they'll either be used against them or for them.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me. I really just want to connect people. I want to inspire people to do more. Not from a place of not getting something back from that, but that we're all in this together. We get to decide every day who we're going to be in this world. Be the best one you can be. Go that way. So you can contact me at Teresa@nursecoaching.com. Visit our website, nursecoaching.com, 2 words, NURS, coaching, COACHING.com.
Awesome. What an enjoyable time this has been. I hope you as listeners have found this to be valuable. If this conversation inspired you, I'd love it if you would share it with others. That's what we're all about here, is getting this message out to as many people as we can so that we can see our world and people's lives become all that is possible. So we would love your help. So please share and let us know. Like we said, test us out. Tell us in the comments if it's not working for you. We'd love to connect with you and support you in any way. I will have Teresa's information in the show notes. And thank you so much for listening with us today. We hope that it has blessed you. Take care.